guys, welcome back to another week of Mortgage Matters in Minutes here today on Tuesday afternoon. A little late than had planned, but we're still here on this sunny afternoon in December, just a couple days before Christmas. And this week we wanted to talk quickly about questions to consider before buying in this competitive housing market. And this competitive housing market has been going on now for, 2, 3, 4 years. Really the last 2 years obviously have been the most competitive that we see. And I know in speaking with my clients here this last month or so, is that just because the lack of inventory still, which happens normally during the holidays this time of year, the competitive market is competitive, just like it is. What that means is when you're ready to put an offer in, many people want that particular property as well too. So what they do is they fight over it. So being in competition, and to be in competition means to give more things or realize you don't want to give those things. So, the biggest thing that we've seen here recently is do you want to pay more than the house is listed for? And that's the number one question that we bring up with people. Is a lot of clients have stated, hey, the market is overpriced. It's too expensive. It's too high. I don't know if I always agree with that. It just might be too high compared to what you want to pay, and that's okay. But I just want to make you prepared for asking yourself that question before you get into this market, because if you're not willing to go over asking price, that's okay. Just know then when you do put an offer in, if there's other competitors in the hunt for that same house, yours might get not considered first. I know another thing people are stating is that if I'm going to buy in this competitive market, I refuse to not have a home inspection. And I would share with you, I would say more than half of the real estate contracts we've seen come through our office are getting accepted without a home inspection. Again, doesn't make it right, it doesn't make it wrong, it just makes it, these are the questions you want to ask yourself to be prepared for. Are you really ready to buy a house in this competitive market? And if you say no, that is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just to be educated in this market to understand what is common practice in this industry. The third was a question that you may want to ask yourself is, are you willing to make up the difference between what the house is appraised at and what you're buying it for? Meaning, if you put an offer on a $200,000 home and you use the escalation clause to buy the property to a higher number, you might agree to pay $220,000 for the home. But if the house only appraises for $210,000, there's a $10,000 difference there. Sellers may ask you to come up with that difference out of your own money. And that's your choice. Again, when you negotiate these contracts right away at the beginning, these are the questions that real estate agents and realtors are going to ask. What do you want to do when you're submitting that offer? And whether you don't have the money to make up that difference or whether you do have the money to make up that difference, it's really honestly your decision. You just want to ask yourself, am I prepared? Am I ready to do that? And some people are prepared to say, yes, I want a house. I've been looking for a long time, and I do want to make up the difference because I feel I'm going to be in this house for a long time. And if you're in a home for a long time, values should generally continue to increase. I know we ran into this in 2008. Houses aren't going to appreciate forever. They may flatten out or they may go down a little bit, depends on where you're at. But again, real estate is local. It comes down to the lowest entity of a neighborhood, not real estate can't be compared nationwide. Real estate can't be compared in all of Omaha. It has to be broken down into each individual subdivisions to give a real reflection of the value of the property. Another question that you can always ask to help in a competitive market is the seller flexible? Does the seller want to close in 6 months to buy the house, or does the seller want to close in 2 weeks? What is more advantageous to the seller? Is it that they're building a new house and they might not be done with their property for 6 more months, and that's what they're mostly concerned about, is just having their house sold so they don't have to deal with it anymore? Or are they really looking for a quick sale and be done with the property so they can use their cash to buy another property, be done with the transaction, whatever? So asking those questions, saying, Mr. Seller, what entices you on the closing date? And whatever they would like to see is a good way to consider to get that property over to someone else. This last year, this has really cooled down, but some buyers are willing to pay the seller's fees. So again, if you can only offer up so much, meaning you can only offer up to the house's value and maybe above that, what else could you do? Well, when a seller puts a house up for sale, they have closing costs that they have to pay. And you as a buyer can choose to help assist with those. And honestly, we've been doing this a long time. Until this last year or so, it's really only the first time that's been a consistency in seeing that happen, but that also has cooled down a little bit. But that is also something that you need to ask yourself. If that push comes to shove and you are seriously interested in that property, are you willing to go up and above and beyond to say, I'll help you, Mr. Seller, with the cost that you have to pay to sell that house? Also, the last question that we may have you think of is, are you willing to live in different parts of the city? Sometimes, or not even different parts of the city, but maybe the question is, are you flexible in the price of the home? Or are you flexible and you have to be in a certain area because of a school district for your children, or you want to live in a certain area? Sometimes that really limits you on the amount of houses that are for sale. So if there's a way that you can open up your search, whether it's by price, whether it's by location, whether it's by less garage space, whatever the case may be, is maybe opening your search will allow you to see other properties, and maybe that's not an option for you as well. But considering those as your options in this competitive housing market is good to think about before you get out there and look at properties. I know this day and age, it's so easy to buy anything we want with a click of a button online, and it ships to our home or office within 2 days. And I think what we have to understand as human beings and emotional individuals is that housing doesn't always grant us immediate gratification that we can do when it comes to buying any other product or services out there. And I know we've used the word over and over this last year about supply chains being the scenario. The real estate market lately has been a supply chain issue. It's been that way for a couple, 2 or 3 years here, and the pandemic has really exacerbated that and made it even worse. So our intention of this video here today is just to educate you and ask yourself these questions. And you can say yes, you can say no, you can say I'm not backing down on this or backing down on that. That is good for you to know. You'd want to ask yourself when you're not emotional, when you're not looking at these properties, because when push comes to shove and you are competing against 5 or 10 other individuals or couples to purchase that house, you will be forced to ask yourself those questions. So why not be prepared? Why not know the answer, or why not know the questions that Mr. and Mrs. Real Estate Agent or Realtor is going to ask you in this market when you're ready to put in a serious offer? If you guys have any questions, we'd love to assist here with you. Just thought we'd throw a little information out there, as this spring market obviously is probably going to be just as competitive as the last couple of years have seen. And it would be nice for everyone to be as prepared as they can for when the market comes out, fully exasperating and fully at full speed as the housing market does once the grass starts turning green in March, April, and May. And we've been cooped up in our homes all winter. We're ready to get outside, get ourselves a new property and some new land and a new house and a new home. So here at Mortgage Specialists, we're here to help educate. We're here to help answer any questions, day, weekends, evenings, via office phone, cell phone, or email. So you can check us out on our website at mtg-specialist.com, or you can phone us at 402-991-5153. Thank you so much. We'll see you guys here next week. Mortgage Specialists. Driven, trusted, reliable.